Okay, I'd like to call to order the Bedford Township Planning Commission regular meeting dated October 13, 2021. It is 7 o'clock. We could stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Mr. Gaverick, do you want to call the roll, please?
Yeah, as soon as I get the name in front of me. Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Fritz?
Aye.
Mr. Mahoney?
Here.
Mr. Garvick here? Mr. Helm?
Here. No, thank you.
And Mr. Matt?
Here.
All right. Okay, approval of the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look over the agenda? Any changes, additions, deletions?
Motion to approve the agenda is submitted.
Second.
Supported, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was on. I probably talked. Check, you're welcome.
Okay, we just approved the minutes. How about the agenda? Let's approve the agenda. I would like to move item 8C up to the first thing we cover. Go ahead, Ms. Rector.
I'm sorry. Are you amending the agenda?
We just did the agenda first.
You just approved the agenda.
I went backwards.
And that's okay. We're not going to change the items because we are going to hold the public hearing.
Okay, should we do that? Can we do that first? Just because he's going to defer, right?
Well, we are going to hold the meeting as scheduled, and then when his item comes up, then the commission can discuss because we do have to open the public hearing for discussion.
Okay. I guess my question is, can we do that now, or what do you think? Should we keep it in order?
I would keep it in order.
Okay. Okay, then. Approval of the agenda.
Now we're on to the minutes. We did the agenda already.
Okay, I thought we did the minutes first. That was my mistake. So, all right, approval of the minutes from September 22nd, 2021.
Motion to approve the minutes of September 22, 2021 Planning Commission meeting is submitted.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Abstain.
Pardon?
I wasn't here, so I abstain.
Okay, and abstention from Matt Anger. Move on to public comment. Is there anybody who would like to make a public comment?
Kevin Wexler, 4105 St. Anthony Road. I just wanted to remind you guys that in this business atmosphere that we're in today, we can't be hindering business at all. And when our businesses come before this board and there's simple zoning things that have been hashed out over the past year regarding Mulch King, it's just, we've got to pass it already and move on. So that's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, let's move on to old business. Item 7A, request for an amended final site plan approval for Mulch King, Andrew Nitsch, located on parcel number 58-02-035-075-00, otherwise known as 110 West Smith Road, Temperance, Michigan, 48182. Joe, Ms. Rector, do you have anything to add?
I just wanted to make reference that this project was presented to the Planning Commission on September 22nd, and the applicant, Mr. Nitz, requested a deferment due to the lack of commission members. And I don't believe there's any further information in the packet other than what was supplied before. The applicant has submitted a rendering of what the landscaping, proposed landscaping on the plan is presented, and that was supplied to you this evening. And Mr. Nitz is available to speak on the project.
Okay. Can he step up now and speak? Okay.
Andrew Nitz with Mulch King, 110 Smith Road. We're looking for, we've made some changes to the site plan from the original one factor or another that led to most all of those.
Is that microphone on?
So what we are asking is that the amendments that we're making to the site plan be approved. We have ability to answer any and all the questions that you guys may have. I'm going to let Mr. Jacobs speak that did the engineering work and hopefully answer any of the questions that I can't for you. Okay?
Okay.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. We are here this evening to represent Mr. Nitz in his request for amendment to his site plan. We've been in receipt of the comments, and I believe are prepared to discuss them as you need to as we move through the site. I can go through one by one, or I think you're all familiar enough with the site that I probably would say that maybe in this case it might be more appropriate if you ask your questions and I can try to answer them in that approach versus reading each one in detail here, unless you prefer to do that.
Okay. Would anybody like to ask Mr. Jacobs a question about the property? Go ahead, Ms. Rector.
Would the commission like me to read over the analysis?
Please.
I believe that that is what Mr. Jacobs is replying to as well, because I did supply that information to the applicant.
Okay.
Again, the applicant is Andrew Nitz, 2124 Rood Street, Toledo, Ohio. Property is 110 West Smith Road, I-2 Light Industrial, 5802-035-07500, approximately 16.4 acres. The subject property is currently the location of a yard waste composting facility known as the Mulch King, consisting of approximately 16.4 acres. Indian Creek runs along the north end of the property, with the floodplain and the wetland areas occupying a portion of the property. On September 12, 2017, the applicant, which at that time was Telegraph Partners, went before the Board of Zoning Appeals and was granted several variances, which were all shown on the original site plan. On September 13, 2017, the Planning Commission held the public hearing with discussion, and a motion was made to table the decision to the next meeting to be held on September 27, 2017. The original site plan and special approval was granted by the Planning Commission on September 27, 2017. Since that time, the site has not been brought into compliance with the approved site plan, and a structure has since been constructed without a building permit. The approved site plan has been amended, and there has been several amendments to the original site plan that require additional reviews and a decision by the Planning Commission. The overall layout has been amended due to the design of the site and the areas of the wetlands once the operation began on site. Once a decision is made on the amended site plan, the applicant continued to move forward and bring the site into compliance. On June 7, 2021, the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting, the applicant sought and was granted 2 variances where 3 motions were made to clarify the request. The applicant sought a variance on the landscaping. I'm not going to read the whole entire portion of the ordinance, but I will read the portion of each motion. A motion by Wilson, supported by Gore, to approve the appeal of Andrew Nitz, requesting a variance of the requirement of the perimeter of the site be utilized for composting operation, be screened and buffered by means of plantings, and a variance of the requirement of the perimeter of the entire site shall be fenced in an I-2 industrial zoning district. Along approximately, if you want to look at the plan itself, on the original, the new submittal, you'll see that it's 800, and it's highlighted in blue, 850 feet of the west side of the property due to the existence of regulated wetlands, and no berm, plantings, and fencing can be installed without disturbing drainage, as stated in the letters from the Eagle and the NRM. And that is highlighted in the blue area if you're looking at the 2021 plan. The next variance was granted, and for the applicant to submit a 3-foot berm to serve along the southwestern, which is the remaining area on the southwestern portion in green, side, to continue along the south side to the east side of the property to the existing heavily wooded area on the eastern side, conditioned upon the earth berm to be installed within 6 months of the Planning Commission's approval and following 1 calendar year to install the plantings, subject to the Planning Commission granting final site plan approval of the location of the plantings, the number and types of plantings to be installed. And that would be the remaining green area following on the south side along to the east. I have highlighted the changes in pink regarding the change in the layout from the 2017 and the 2021 amended site plan. And then the remaining was to grant the proposed 3-foot berm and mixed plantings barrier, roadside ditch, and depth of the right-of-way to act as a natural barrier to prevent unauthorized access and dumping in place of the minimum 6-foot in height fencing requirement for the perimeter of the property, conditioned upon any change to the existing woody tree line and any additional wetland delineations that may affect the relationship between the approved berm and the tree line that would need to be reviewed and approved prior to any changes. The applicant was granted the remaining of the easterly portion and the northerly side of the existing wooded area to remain without disturbing any other areas for fencing or additional plantings. Landscaping, screening, and buffer. Now I'm going to go to what is actually being submitted on the amended plan. The applicant is proposing a 3-foot berm to be covered with a minimum of 3 inches of thick mulch to include a mix of planting barrier consisting of 23 6-foot tall plantings, 97 2-foot tall plantings, and 42 mix of perennial plantings to be installed along the entire 100 feet on the southwesterly portion, approximately 482 feet of the southern portion of the property, and approximately 229 of the easterly side of the property abutting the existing remaining heavily bush and dense trees, for approximately a total 811 feet. As the variances were granted to allow the 3-foot berm and mixed plantings to serve, the request was granted conditioned upon the earth berm being installed 6 months of the Planning Commission's approval and following 1 calendar year to install the plantings, and the Planning Commission shall determine the number of plantings, types, spacings in between the plantings located 100 on the south and 482 on the south side, 229 feet remaining on the east. Moving on, per Manick and Smith's review, I guess, maybe you want to address any of that with the applicant, and then we can go to the next portion of the amended plan, and then if we have any further questions, or would you like me just to finish and give you an idea of where the information is located?
Do you guys want to cover point by point so we make sure we don't miss anything?
Maybe, I mean, it's up to you. I don't have a problem to go on with the Manick and Smith and reports.
Okay, then I'll keep moving forward. Manick and Smith's review letter, plan review comments number 1 states the detention ponds have not been provided with landscaping in accordance with section 419.07 of the Township Ordinance. Per section 419.07, stormwater detention ponds states, detention ponds shall be designed in an integral part of the overall site plan and shall be considered a natural landscape feature having an irregular or curvilinear shape. Maximum slopes and depths of the proposed pond shall conform to the Township of Bedford's Development Design Standards, Ordinance 65, or any similar successor ordinance, and the Township Engineer specifications. The following standards shall be considered minimum requirements for the landscaping of detention ponds, and I listed those portions that are required. Per section 419.07, number 20, allows for modifications to landscape requirements, states in consideration of the overall design and impact of specific landscape plan, and in consideration of the amount of existing plant material to be retained on site, the Planning Commission may modify the specific requirements outlined herein, provided that any such adjustments is in keeping with the intent of the section of the ordinance in general. In determining whether a modification is appropriate, the Planning Commission may base its decision on any one or more of the following circumstances which exist within the site. Topography features or other unique features of the site create conditions that strict application of the landscape regulations would result in a less effective landscape design than an alternative landscape. Parking, vehicular circulation, or land use such that required landscaping would not enhance the site or result in the desired aesthetic effect. And the public benefit intended by the landscape regulations could be better achieved with a plan that varies from the strict requirements. Landscaping would restrict proper storm water drainage. The applicant is requesting a modification to the required landscape due to the location of the detention ponds, the unique features of the site being located along the heavily wooded area, and the granting of the requested variance to be required to maintain the remaining tree line and additional landscaping could restrict proper storm drainage. The Planning Department does support this request, as there would be no additional benefit to require additional landscaping to the detention ponds. Windrow piles or material on site. It should be noted on pages C1 and C2, existing stockpiles are noted at 12-foot max. However, on page L1 of the landscape plan, the existing stockpiles are noted 16 feet in height planted with grass and wildflowers, per section 400.1502, number 5, and in the maximum height of all windrows of any other material being stored on site shall not exceed a total height of 12 feet. The applicant should verify any and all piles of windrows or material meet the height requirements by ordinance. The applicant did seek a variances on February 1st of 2021, and the request was denied. Signage. Per section 419.22, in an I-2 light industrial zoning district, sign states one accessory wall sign not to exceed 50 square feet in area. In addition, for each lot or parcel, not more than 2 freestanding accessory signs, monument signs, not to exceed 50 square feet in area, not to exceed 7 feet in height. In addition, for each lot or parcel, freestanding non-accessory signs, no more than 1 to every 5 acres, not to exceed 50 square feet in area and not to exceed 7 feet in height, provided there shall be permitted no more than 2 such signs on any one lot or parcel. The applicant has submitted a rendering, and the submitted site plan shows 2 monument signs. After speaking with the architect, Chris Benson, the applicant is only proposing 1 monument sign to be located on the corner of Smith and Telegraph Roads, 5 feet, 8 inches in height, 9 square feet of base, and 32 square feet of signage, with daylilies to surround the base of the sign, which meets the intent of the ordinance. The proposed monument sign must be located outside the road right-of-way and corner clearance of the corner of Smith and Telegraph Roads, and shall be landscaped the entire perimeter of the base no less than 2 feet wide, and said landscaping shall be kept in a maintained, growing, and healthy condition. The applicant is proposing 4 portable wood frame style non-accessory signs within the interior of the site. While the proposed non-accessory sign meet the requirements by ordinance, no more than 2 signs will be permitted on 1 lot. The applicant has submitted 4 renderings for non-accessory signs, as 2 are for directional purpose, the exit and the stop sign. The applicant is requesting a sign waiver to allow 2 additional non-accessory signs. I notated that each of those are noted as exit and stop. As a planning department, we're just looking for the applicant to be able to have 4 non-accessory signs, and if his desire would be to change those renderings on the front of the signage, that would still be considered a non-accessory sign. The constructed building. At the time when the original site plan was reviewed and approved, the existing concrete slab was shown on the plan. However, no structure was shown to be developed in that location, thus no approval was granted. While no building permit was ever issued, the structure has since been constructed. Per the building official, Dennis Kohler, the applicant was required to work with a structural engineer to provide supportive information on the design and integrity of the existing structure. The applicant shall submit for a building permit and continue to work with the building official on approvals, should the Planning Commission approve the location and type of structure shown on the amended site plan. The applicant is also seeking approval for the proposed additional future 40 by 44 open storage pole barn to be constructed. Should the Commission determine to grant approval for the proposed open storage pole barn and location, the applicant shall be required to submit construction drawings and continue to work with the Building Department for all required submittals, approvals, and obtain any required permits as review and approval from Monroe County Drain Commission and EGLE would be required. Commercial sales. Per section 400.1502.5Z, on-site commercial sales of product produced on-site from the composting operation is permitted. The Planning Commission has several discussions on a proposed text amendment, and at the September 8th, 2021 meeting, a motion was made to advise the Township Board that the Planning Commission has determined it is not in the best interest of Bedford Township to propose a text amendment to the I-2 Light Industrial Zoning District for commercial composting facility with special approval to allow additional retail commercial sales of product produced on-site. At this time, only product produced on-site from the composting operation is permitted for on-site sales. Review and approvals have been received on 9/15 from the Mannequin Smith Group, submitted approval letter with comment and conditions. On 9/2, the Bedford Township Fire Department approved and amended the site plan, continued upon having 2 10-pound ABC extinguishers available on site and located in the building located on skids and covered storage open pole barn. Also, the installation of a key box shall be purchased and installed at the main front gate for a 24-hour emergency entry. The Planning Department has had discussions with the Monroe County Road Commission, and at this time, no further review is required as the commercial approach has been approved. However, it should be noted that the most westerly gravel temporary access off Smith Road must be removed, and at this time, the Planning Department has not received any form of approval from MDOT permitting access from the site off Telegraph Road. Thus, no access is permitted off Telegraph Road. The applicant shall continue to work with the Monroe County Drain Commission on all drainage requirements for a composting facility, having no further review at this time. and the applicant shall continue to work with Eagle on any and all requirements for a composting facility. And then the remaining is just bullet points of
Everything we covered.
what's already been discussed.
Mr. Jacobs, is there anything you want to add?
Yes, I'll add a couple of notes here. The rendering that was passed out to you this evening is just a representation of what that 3-foot berm along the two roads would look like in its density and what's proposed in the layout on the plans for the landscape plan. So it's just to give you a little better idea of what the composition of that is in elevation for that.
And it's 21 foot wide.
Yes.
Is that what I read that correctly?
Yeah, I believe that's the correct toe-to-toe. See here. Yes.
Is the toe of berm the same level as the road then?
It's the
Approximately?
same level as existing grade there, and I think the road might be, is the road higher or lower at that?
It's higher.
Yeah. So the road is a little higher than what the existing grade is.
Mr. Nitz, you've come up with him.
And then,
So Telegraph Road is level with grade. Smith Road is a little bit higher, but you get the ditch there, and then 3-foot berm proposed on our side of the ditch.
this will be on the top side of the ditch bank. So not down in the ditch, but on the top edge of it.
How far from the road is it?
We start it right at the right-of-way line. I believe that from the road edge, it's 22 feet, I believe. Yeah.
Did you ask how wide the berm was?
Yeah, it's specified in the drawing.
So on this one.
I believe that from the shoulder to the property line or the easement is roughly 20 feet.
21 wide, 3 foot.
Mr. Chair, I've got some additional questions.
Mr. Steiner?
It's mentioned that there will be a 3-inch mulch to cover the berm. Will that mulch be, since that is such a wide berm of 21 feet, is that at the top of the berm, the entire thing? And due to, annual erosion, washout, blowing, disintegration, will that get new mulch replenishment or use just general growth, or how will that be managed?
No, my plan is we obviously have a surplus of mulch, is just to continually keep it up, and there's 40,000 yards of it sitting there right now.
Right, I figured that, but I, figured I'd ask the question.
Yeah, most of it, like some of the plantings that we're
Into the microphone, please.
some of the plantings that we're proposing are also meant as ground cover. They spread out throughout the growing season, so that's going to help with the point that
Yeah,
you
because I saw sedum
Yeah,
was one of those things in it.
Yeah, what I did was I reached out to Michigan State. There's a woman there, Mary Wilson, that they do an extension program where they're trying to bring back native species, plants, and flowering material that was part of Michigan before we started clearing and spraying everything off and killing it off. So I got the list from them, and they're also all drought tolerant since we don't have a current water access to either one of those structures that are there. So we picked out, that's why we picked out the plantings that are there, so that we aren't having to replace them every other month. And they also said they would help supply some of that if we weren't able to. So
This one is really toward the commission. Does the commission feel that the landscaping needs to be around the detention basin per the current standards? In my mind, within the property, I don't think it's necessary where the detention basin is. But that's up to this commission whether we make that mandatory or waive that.
Mr. Fritz?
Yes, the way that sits right there, and you're real close to that berm and that stuff, that'll protect that side around. And then the rest will be inside, so I agree with you. I don't think it's needed either.
I visited the site last Saturday. Mr. Nitsch gave me a tour of the place. It looks good to me, and it's kind of like a natural ecosystem, you know, the animals and the birds that go in there, and I don't think he needs to do anything to them. And you can't really see them from the road, especially with a berm.
If it's of any help, that was approved in that fashion in the first site plan as well, so that would be consistent with prior approval.
This one's just more of a statement for you, Mr. Jacob. Just for this final, the site plan and any documentation should be corrected. Instead of saying MDEQ on anything, it should be reflecting of the new agency of EGLE on all documents.
Yes.
Especially since this is amended and we're following what is now EGLE.
Yep.
I think Ms. Rector covered site plan states 2 signs per Mr. Jacob. There's going to be 1 sign.
One monument
Master sign, monument.
And then the 4 that were proposed for the site that were referred to are the internal signage, which also was previously approved. So we're hoping that that could be carried forward again as well.
Okay.
How do you make sure that the windrows don't exceed 12 feet?
I mean, we haven't measured them, just to be honest with you guys. Everything we took in last year, I originally asked for that in the February BZA meeting, is because we took in, with everyone being home on lockdown, like probably 6 years, if not more, worth of material last summer alone. So we ran out of space to even put everything. So what I was asking was, is until we could process it all, could we make all the rows higher? But we've spent 3 months processing everything now, so it's all come and gone. It's kind of a moot point now. So hopefully we don't have lockdown again and get in that situation, you know. But it was kind of out of necessity to keep making more space at the time.
Per ordinance, most of the time you have to have ADA parking. I agree with some of the comments. I don't think ADA parking is really necessary in the site because you don't really have, for the most part, have customers getting in and out of their cars. I mean, somebody might pull up to talk to you, but if they pull up to talk to you and they need accessibility, they can pull up and you'll be walking right out to their car. So.
Right, and there's probably 8 acres of space that's covered in hard and
right.
asphalt millings. They could park anywhere really, but usually they only stop to check in. We look at what they have, and then they drive to where we direct them to empty their material out. So.
Again, I'm good with that. The commission is also inclined that they don't have to have ADA spots.
In that regard, the site is flat enough that if somebody were to sue and it became necessary to install it, that it could be accommodated. So the waiver of it, if it becomes necessary later, could be accommodated with relative ease.
It seems most of your traffic is in and out within a few minutes, so I don't see that as an encumbrance. You guys?
This is a question for the architect. Detention basin is draining into the Indian Creek. Is that drainage metered? Is it kept low enough to prevent stagnant water and a breeding environment for mosquitoes and things like that?
Yes, it's compliant with the Drain Commission's requirements for that, and it's monitored through his visits from Eagle on a regular basis when they come to check the site. But it is compliant with first flush and metering standards, so that he's not putting anything more into the drain, the public drain, than is permitted by any other site development. And then he's got the measures for testing if there's a concern over any levels of phosphates, I believe it was, that from the runoff. So those are all in place per the original approvals.
And then the last thing I had written down, and I did pass this out to the commissioners just to look at. I'm glad you brought this rendering in. It's still hard to visualize with a property so large. So I did a lot of math and calculations throughout. So the southwest side on the corner there, it's 100 feet, and 229 feet of eastern border, 482 feet of southern border. So for the 6-foot tall plantings, there's 23. If you spread those evenly across the entire 811 feet of berm, basically the whole perimeter, that would put those 6-foot trees 35 feet apart. But I see on the site plan, 10 of those plantings are all within that 100-foot southwest perimeter by itself. Those plantings would be approximately 10 feet apart if you space them evenly, but it looks like a couple of those are right next to each other on the 6-foot plantings on that west side. So that basically would leave 10 plantings for the rest of that southern and eastern border, and it would be approximately 54.7 feet apart for the 6-foot trees if they were spread evenly. Now this makes it look like they're spread evenly. I can't say, but if it is, then again, those would be about almost 55 feet apart.
So this rendering that you have, and that is correct, I believe in the math from what I'm seeing here, but this rendering is for the new berm. The one on the southern, I say southern, the southwest edge is the existing berm, and those were from the original plantings. So the new berm, this rendering covers, and it's proposed with the layout that you see there with the spacing that you described.
So the plants are for the new, the number of plants listed is for this, the new berm.
Well,
not added into what was already.
No, it's a total. But the rendering matches what's new. The total count is correct for the entire landscape.
The entire site. Mm-hmm. And again, this is just reference. I'm just sharing this with the commission. So, and then there's 97 2-foot plantings. If they spread evenly, they're about 8.5 feet of space apart. And then the 42 mix of perennials around the site, which is just the small plantings, the sedum and things like that, are their low growth. And I think I put the grasses, I don't know if they were in that one or the one above it. But again, that would be about 19.3 feet of space apart. So this looks full. I know it's going to grow. It's going to get wider. How fast they grow, I don't know. Now your 6-foot trees, such as your pines, your arborvitaes, are those going to be installed at 6 feet, or is that a 6-foot expected growth?
No, I believe your ordinance requires them to be that size.
Just double checking.
Yep.
I have no objection with the spacing and the selection of plantings. The one area I was concerned with is the southwest corner, just to make sure those white blocks are blocked off from view. But I drive by your site frequently, and it doesn't pop out like this an eyesore. So I think anything you add will probably enhance what's there right now. What can you tell me about the southwest corner? You're putting.
That is a little denser, as described. Those trees are a little closer together.
Mm-hmm.
The planting, the shrubbery plants appears to be similar. Yes. Yeah, the spacing of the shrubs is very similar, but the trees are a little tighter along that western line.
So I know that when I visited the site with both you, Mr. Jacobs and Mr. Nitz and Mr. Gore from the Board of Zoning Appeals, we did talk about moving that first bay, as Mr. Mahoney just mentioned, it being close to the road. We talked about moving that first storage bay one to the north, get it away from the road, and bring it inside the berm a little bit more that way. It's probably, 10, 12 concrete blocks
Yes.
that would have to be moved?
It's where the proposed berm has to go, so.
Okay, so they'll move anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Currently, that berm's out a little farther than it should be, so that's got to be reconstructed. And then
I was
that would-
going to
that
say
would
that berm
eliminate
looked
that.
closer than we talked about here a few minutes ago, 22 feet from the road.
Yep.
That was a list of my questions, comments. So, if it, to me, for the rest of my planning members, whatever comments or questions you have, and if you want to talk about the plannings too, I don't know. I don't know where the plannings are going to. It's hard to say how they're going to grow and things like that. So,
Anybody have any other questions about the plannings, selection, spacing? I'm going to move on to another point.
that's all I have
Okay.
on my
Chair,
list here.
I do have a couple other comments.
All right.
And some additional points. The constructed building, those plans are completed, but we cannot turn them in until an approval is in place. So those are ready to go.
You have a structural
We had a
engineer rating?
we-
Okay, good.
As the architect, we did some review, but we also had our structural engineer weigh in on some details that we were concerned about. And there are some minor modifications that are going to be made to bring it into compliance. We've talked to Mr. Kohler about that, but until we get an approval, he's not going to review those any
Right.
further. So we're prepared to address that one as soon as we can.
Okay.
And then I know the commercial sales one, I think is clear on your stance and interpretation, but I know Mr. Nitz had some questions about that in today's world, and with only having the ability to sell the mulch. He was processing the gravel into different types of product when it left, so it was being processed on site, similar to what the mulch is, but it wasn't part of the mulching process, as I understand. So I don't know if there's a way that he could see a path forward to eventually amending his special use to have that an accessory to the mulching business or not. That's just a question this evening, but I'm not quite sure where all that can go, or if Andrew wants to weigh in a little further. But that's just a topic that we'd like to discuss, but we're prepared to address all the others. That's just one that's kind of open that we aren't sure how to best address, because it does it's typical on other mulching centers to have those kind of operations, but when we submit it for the revision, I understand that's been denied for its use. So that's what we understand at the moment, I guess.
But I believe those other mulching centers you reference are also not in industrial.
No, that's correct.
Then I think that's the caveat.
So one question would be, would it be appropriate, or, and I don't know if you can answer this, but would it be appropriate to come back and potentially rezone or get some split zoning where along the road, Smith Road, so far back, like to the mulching site, that we rezone that to commercial, and then have the rear of the site left as industrial for that use that might open up that opportunity for them? And that, I understand, would have to go through different processes. But
I think maybe we defer to Mr. Camperth, maybe answer that better than any of us from a legal standpoint.
Well, I guess his bottom line question was, can we split zone the parcel? That is not allowed in Bedford Township. We are trying to eliminate split zone parcels because it always leads to questions as to what zoning district controls the use on the parcel. And it's always been problematic, and it's never anything that we promote or would allow.
So
I'm sorry, Mr. Rivera.
I guess I'd like to, hindsight on what we voted for before. I'd like to see how we could, the guys took in cost them $100,000 to take in our product free from people here at Bedford, and to sell some of these few things he's asking for. I'm trying to figure out how we can do that. You don't want to sell shrubs. I've talked to him. The mat, the stone, and a couple other things that I'm not sure.
Is text amendment an avenue?
Yeah, that's what was of discussion in September, but that's certainly not on the agenda tonight.
Sure, we're discussing. So that'd probably be the avenue.
Is there an avenue that you guys can come back and ask? Does it come to this board? How does that happen if they wants to?
Probably follow the same process before. There was a question from, that went to the Township Board saying, do they want the Planning Commission to consider a text amendment? It came here. Planning Commission considered a text amendment. It was recommended to the Township Board not to proceed with a text amendment. So it's basically, if Township says go ahead and study it again, then Planning could study it again. The recommendation here would go to the board as a recommendation, then the Township Board would have to vote on it.
So where would they start that process?
Back to the Township Board.
Township Board?
They would have to give direction again to review the language that was presented at this time not to move forward.
And I guess I'm a public apologize for that vote because I didn't realize what it was. And I've talked to 4 board members here that all want it. So I guess I would pursue that if I was you. I've talked to 4 of them today individually, and I apologize because I think you should be able to sell those few things there.
When did we vote on that or recommend it, roughly?
Last time.
I believe September 8th.
Okay. Personally, I was of the mind that we shouldn't be changing terminology of our zones, making exceptions. After visiting your facility, it kind of turned my way of thinking around. It'd be interesting to have you come back and present it again. Because I think you present an exceptional value to the township, and I think people who, if they were here before you, they probably appreciate that the air is a lot clearer in the fall. I think part of the problem is that you didn't comply with the ordinances as it was set and all the variances that you were granted, and it burned some people, and they weren't happy about it. And we just don't want to see that again. We don't want to see anybody make a habit of that or even do it once, but, in hindsight, I'd look at your operation and I'd look at the value of it. I see selling River Rock innocuous, it ties in what you do, bulk sales, perhaps something on a limited basis I'd find acceptable if I looked at it again. Anybody else have any comments? Mr. Inger?
I think the biggest reason I voted against it was the general broad term of it is all encompassing of whatever it could be. If it was maybe more specific to what you were thinking, it'd be easier to wrap our mind around it. But it was just like the word screening could mean pretty much anything and everything. So maybe if it was just more concise, but I'm with you guys too. It's like stone makes sense and it goes right along with mulch. Like if I want to go get mulch and stone, I like to get it in the same place.
Well, I did have a brief discussion with Mr. Goldsmith, but my thought was the mulch or the brush is brought into the site, processed and sold as mulch. The stone was being brought in, processed on site, and sold as 2 or 3 other products. But it wasn't specific to the mulching operations, therefore it wasn't part of the original use approval. So that's where I'm wondering if there's an avenue to amend the use approval that might allow for that kind of processing and sales on site similar to what the mulching operation is. And I'm not sure how we would go about that without going back through the entire process.
And I don't want to go through it here tonight, but I would advise you get a hold of Ms. Rector. She's a wealth of knowledge, and she can probably give you an idea of how to start the process.
Sure.
Mr. Steiner?
Could Mr. Churchill talk to?
One question here. I think, do you own the property to the west of Mulch King?
Yeah, there's 7.5 acres.
And you got 7.5 acres. And that's currently under, is that residential or?
Multifamily residential.
I didn't know it was multi, but it's residential still. For years we've heard times about talking about step-down zoning. So you start with your highest intensity, you get lower intensity as you go down. Now, granted, it's usually a broader spectrum than just going right from, industrial right to a residential, which really isn't a proper fit either. Maybe it's worthwhile, would it make sense to take, I don't know how you could split it, I don't know the actual topography and the design. Maybe you could split a portion of that parcel, do a land split, and get zoning that's separate on, 1 or 2 acres, whatever makes sense along that side. And then that might be a lot easier than trying to go through all kinds of amendments and trying to change what fits in a zoning, what fits in special use approvals. Just a thought.
Do we have that here in the township now?
What's that?
Step zones, zoning?
Well, I mean, we've basically got properties where, over the years, it's been tried where you take the higher intensity, and again, you don't want to put your highest intensity commercial right next to somebody's house. So they've tried to say, okay, you step it down, you go through professional business office, and then you start to migrate over to residential properties. So it's, a very similar process in various parts of the community.
So I would like to say something else if I could. When I first came to Bedford to present this entire business plan and idea, I picked out, this was the 5th property I picked out. The other 4 were commercial. And there was no ordinance, there was no determination on what land it had to be on for zoning. But I was told I couldn't do it on the other 4, which was the nursery on Lewis already, because my thought was that the township wanted it because everyone was so afraid of composting as far away from any people as it could be. Really over with some other businesses that shouldn't be there anyways to begin with, right? So we wanted the scary compost place way over here. I never thought that because it was going to be on a property that was zoned I-2 that I wouldn't be able to sell landscape products. Like that thought would have never gone through my mind, or I wouldn't have bought it to begin with. It's just you have to have so much acreage to make this business work. And the 4 I picked out before that had that size, I was told, we're going to put a neighborhood there. We want to have a shopping plaza there. We want another neighborhood over there. You got to keep looking, keep going somewhere else. And so then when we settled where it was, now the township that had me settle where I was is handcuffing me on being a profitable business on selling other things other than just the mulch. I mean, right now I got to come up with a way to get rid of 6 years worth of stuff, or the state's going to be unhappy with me. I can't. If every person in Bedford bought a yard of mulch, we'd still have mulch there. And there's 30-some thousand people in Bedford right now. So that is helping, especially a new business selling those other products, is helping us keep our bottom line going in the right direction, so we can keep the business running. You guys are going to say you can sell 3 things or get lost, but you still got to take in everybody's stuff. I don't know what it would be worth.
Just to be really clear, though, you mentioned a few times there, the township told you, the township told you, the township told you. I never knew that you looked at 5 properties. I guarantee you the other board members didn't know you looked at 5 properties. There's a lot of things you're saying that majority of us never even heard of. So who was telling you, quote, the township?
Well, I mean, she doesn't work here anymore, but obviously Jody knows that I came up and met with her and Karen. I think only Jody once, but I was told that particular business needed to be in a particular area. And the ones I had picked out before, Secor and Stearns, Crab and Stearns, Lewis, 2 different ones on Lewis by Smith, that were all zoned commercial or residential properties, I was told that wouldn't work and you can't do that. Okay. Yeah. So that's the only point I'm making, is that I worked with everybody to make this business be able to be plausible here, and now again, and I know I did some things wrong. Listen, maybe got some bad advice, but now we're kind of, you can sell 3 different things, or it just, I don't know, it just doesn't really seem fair or make sense when I was following other people's advice.
Is there anybody, did you want to say anything?
I just want
Who are you? Go ahead.
Tim Churchill, appearing on behalf of Andrew Nitz, attorney from Temperance, 9042 Lewis Avenue. And what I wanted to state was, the request for ancillary sale of products is such a sensible business request, especially in today's competitive markets. What I want to point out, I know as part of this approval process, you folks as a board have been asked to consider certain things. One of them is that only product produced on site from composting operation is permitted for on-site commercial sales. That's the Ordinance 400-1502. What I have a query on is where's the proper mechanism to bring this? Could we go back to the BZA if they decided to approve this? Perhaps put a caveat in there, the applicant go back to BZA to see if an amendment to the ordinance could be permitted to allow this, or perhaps an amendment of the special use permit. I just really don't know what to tell them the proper mechanism to go for here is. I know back in 2017 when they were first starting operations there, is around the time that ordinance passed. They were kind of starting that business then. I'm not saying it's an ex post facto ordinance or anything, but I'm trying to determine what is the proper forum to tell him to go back to here, or as part of your approval, if that could be addressed, that the applicant be given an opportunity to go back to BZA again, or perhaps to amend the special use permit to allow the sale of, and we're not asking to put a garden center in, but just some germane ancillary products. Like if you want to get matting, you can get matting at Home Depot, you can get it at Lowe's, and there's one place in Canada that makes it and supplies it for about 90% of the United States. He can sell mulch to somebody, but he can't sell the weed barrier to go underneath it. It's just, it's like telling McDonald's you can sell hamburgers, but you can't sell French fries. It just makes no sense to me, and I'm trying to see if maybe even Marty can give me some guidance there as a township council on this.
Well, I think, when you moved in there, you had the zoning, you had to know what it was, and you can't just go off thinking, all right, now I can do it. We had an opportunity to recommend to the board that we could, we'd be all right with selling river rock, whatever it might be, but we didn't. Mm-hmm. It's a bell that's been rung and we can't unring it. And I just think that going forward, I just advise you to work with the Ms. Rector and ask her guidance on what way to go, the best way to handle it. But tonight, it's not like we can do anything about it tonight, unfortunately. Mr. Guevara?
I don't know if Marty can. I think Mr. Churchill was asking Marty. I don't know if there is.
Well, the process, they're asking for an amendment to the zoning ordinance. That is the process that we just commenced and ended in September. That same process is what would be necessary again, and that is not why we're here tonight. We're here to talk about the site plan and not these ancillary issues, which should be brought back through the different channels.
I think we should direct Mr. Nitz, Mr. Churchill, Mr. Jacobs, that, again, that thing, that's sort of like a dead horse. We can't touch that right now.
Yeah.
I think that continue to talk to, again, Ms. Rector, and then if we need to talk to Mr. Camperth at all or whatever, then figure out, okay, do we go back to the township board first and say, can we do this or do that? And discuss those recommendations, what's the best avenue and the right approach. Since we can't do anything about that with what's before us tonight.
But just in as much as they're saying, as part of this approval process, this needs to be considered, I'm just asking you as part of the approval process if they could say the applicant could go back to BZA or attempt to amend his special approval permit.
The only thing we can do is based on what's presented in front of us to approve an amended site plan as presented to us.
All right.
That's all we can do tonight.
Okay.
But I think we're telling you, we've told you what those directions are, but other than that, we can't make any decisions on anything other than what's in front of us on the site plan.
And if I interpret what Marty said, it may be possible to go back to BZA and ask that then. Maybe.
Not what I said.
Well,
No.
BZA has no authority to vary the to change the language in the zoning ordinance. That is a legislative process through the Township Board, through the Planning Commission after public hearing, and back to the Township Board.
So he's basically need an advocate on the Township Board to present it to the Township Board for discussion. Is that his logical step?
And keep in mind, there was no language proposed, so there was no public hearing held. The Planning Commission made the determination. I presented them information to the Township Board, and no direction was given. So actually, no language was ever held at a public hearing.
Okay.
So I
that
wasn't
process-
involved back then, but I'm involved now, and that's why I'm just trying to do what I can to make sense for him as a businessman to go ahead and hopefully make this business prosper.
So is that his next step, to go to somebody on the Township Board to get it on the agenda?
Yep.
To redirect it to us, so review it again? Is that it?
Right.
Okay, very well. All right,
Great.
thank you.
Hey, by the way, we're one board member short. We're going to take a vote tonight. Do you want us to proceed, or?
Yes, please. I didn't have any other questions. I think
Okay.
the rest of them we're in concurrence with. And I understand what the direction is on what we need to do to address that, so I will work with Mr. Nitz in maybe preparing some language and reach out to Mr. Camperth and Goldsmith to see if we can come up with some language that might be conducive for the board to consider. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any more questions, comments?
Mr. Mahoney,
Yes, sir.
I'm prepared to make a motion, sir.
Okay.
To open my motion, I first want to state that this goes back to 2017, 4 years, almost 4 years on the nose. This is sort of a very different process, because normally you're not allowed to open a business before you have a fully approved site plan, and you're not even allowed to start operation. We've been operating for 4 years under a premise of a site plan that was approved with special approvals, and Ms. Rector read it off the first page. The original site plan and special approval was granted by the Planning Commission on September 27, 2017. Since that time, the site has not been brought into compliance with the approved site plan, and a structure has been since constructed without a building permit. The approved site layout has been amended, and there have been several amendments to the original site plan that require the additional reviews and decision by this Planning Commission. So with that said, my motion is as follows, and it's a little lengthy, so please bear with me. I mean, there's a lot here we have to cover, so he can proceed with the business. My motion is to approve the revised site plan as presented by Mulch King and James Jacob Architect. The site is known as parcel number 5802-035-075-00 at 110 Smith Road, Temperance, Michigan 48182. The property is currently zoned I-2 light industrial with a special approval for a yard waste composting facility. The site is approximately 16.40 acres. The motion to approve is contingent upon the following notations and amendment, which many of these are also written right on the site plan. Again, the property has already been approved with a site plan, and now this is strictly an amendment to the original site plan. Upon approval by this Planning Commission, the subject site shall be brought into compliance within 6 months on the berming from this approval, and the plantings to be planted as of June 1, 2022. The applicant must comply with all township, county, state, and federal ordinances, laws, and regulations, and which, once approved, shall be deemed to authorize only one specific use, and which may be revoked by the Planning Commission after it finds that any of the requirements of the ordinance or conditions of approval are not being maintained. That is also stated in the ordinance. The site plan is denoted MDEQ and should be changed to reflect the proper agency name of EGLE. Note that section 400.1502.5Z states, on-site commercial sales of product produced on-site from the composting operation is permitted. Note that a text amendment was requested to the ordinance at the September 8, 2021 Planning Commission meeting. a motion was made to advise the Township Board that the Planning Commission has determined that it is not in the best interest of Bedford Township to propose a text amendment to the I-2 Light Industrial Zoning District for a commercial composting facility with special approval to allow additional retail commercial sales of products produced off-site. No further removal of trees on the east or north side of the property. Remove or move the first bay of concrete blocks to the north by the width of one bay, which the applicant's already said that has to move based on the berming. Remove all items within 30 days of this approval that are not permitted to be sold from the site due to commercial retail sales of products produced off-site are prohibited in I-2 light industrial zoning unless it's part of the special approval for composting operations, which in this case it is not. The applicant must comply with Ordinance Section 400.1507.5N, where it states the maximum height of all windrows or any other material being stored on site shall not exceed 12 feet in height. And note that on 2/1/2021, a zoning variance to increase the height was denied. The site plan section under composting facility operation plan must be complied with in its entirety. And that is also noted on the site plan itself, those items. Reviews and approvals have been received from the following. On 9/15/2021, the Mannix-Smith Group submitted an approval letter with comments and conditions. On 9/2/2021, the Bedford Township Fire Department approved the amended site plan contingent upon having two 10-pound ABC fire extinguishers available on site and located in the building, located on skids, and covered storage pole barn. Also, the installation of a key box shall be purchased and installed at the main front gate for 24-hour emergency entry. The Planning Department has had discussions with the Monroe County Road Commission, and at this time, no further review is required as the commercial approach has been approved. However, it should be noted that the most westerly gravel temporary access road off Smith Road shall be removed, and at this time, Planning Department has not received any form of approval from MDOT permitting access to the site from Telegraph Road. Thus, no access is permitted off of Telegraph Road. The applicant shall continue to work with the Monroe County Drain Commission on all drainage requirements for a composting facility, having no further review at this time. The applicant shall continue to work with EGLE on any and all requirements for a composting facility. All comments must be addressed and conditions of the review letters of the Bedford Township Fire Department, Mannix-Smith Group, comments supplied to the Planning Department by the Monroe County Road Commission, and continue to work with the Monroe County Drain Commission and Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, which is EGLE. Determination on the location and number of plantings and types of plantings required are to include earthen berm to be installed within 6 months of the Planning Commission's approval. All plantings to be installed within by June 1 of the Planning Commission's approval. All windrows and any other material being stored on site shall not exceed the total of 12 feet in height. One monument sign, 5 foot 8 inches, 9 foot square feet base area of, and 32 square feet of signage to be located on the corner and Smith Roads as a monument sign with daylilies to surround the base of this sign as presented, which must be located outside the road right-of-way and corner clearance on the corner of Smith and Telegraph Roads, and shall be landscaped around the entire perimeter of the base, no less than 2 feet wide, and said landscaping shall be kept and maintained growing in healthy condition, and to obtain all required permits. The sign waiver will allow the additional non-accessory signs to be located within the site and to obtain any and all required permits. Proposed location of the existing structure, subject to submitting construction drawings and continuing to work with the building department and building official on all required submittals, approvals, and obtain all required permits before proceeding on the building. Proposed location and size of a 40 by 44 storage building in the future, conditioned upon submitting the construction drawings and working with the building department and building official on all required submittals, approvals, and obtain all required permits when moving forward and prior to any construction. It shall be further noted that any further changes to the approved site plan and special approval shall first be submitted to the township as an amendment to the site plan and special approval, and shall be reviewed and approved and presented to the planning commission for a decision through the site plan approval process. Also want to add, there is no ADA required parking. That has been waived. There's no landscaping required around the detention basin. And the berming will be maintained annually with the mulch produced on site, as Mr. Nitz had stated.
Support?
I have a question first.
Yeah, I got a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Guevara.
Go ahead.
Based on what's presented in front of us, can we make them remove something that's on the thing because that's not part of the final site plan approval request?
Mr. Camperth can answer, but I believe that's conditions allowed by the planning commission.
I have a problem with removing, I won't support it, removing stuff 30 days taken out of you're making them fail. I'm trying to help this guy, and that's just ridiculous in my opinion. 30 days to take stuff off, let them come back. I have a real problem with that. Go ahead.
Do you have any suggestions?
I'd take that part out, I won't support it.
So you have to remove it tomorrow.
No, it has to be,
Yeah,
it has
no.
to be a friendly amendment request this evening.
Force him
No,
to take
if he
that out.
doesn't
How's
put
he
it in
gonna
there?
move it in 30 days?
No, so my question is, do you have a suggestion
To
to
take it
amend
out
it?
of what he's doing, yes.
So if he took that out, then by law, he'd have to remove it tomorrow.
No.
He
Leave
would,
it there.
because he can't have it
Can't
now.
sell it, leave it there until we figure it out and go back in front of the boards.
So you
You
want to,
can't move it in 30 days. You're getting them to.
no
fail.
argument. Do you want
Okay,
to
Well,
amend what he suggested here?
He just has to be more specific on the amendment.
Let me ask this question to Mr. Camperth. My comment was 30 days. Mr. Camperth, is it 30 days from today, or is it 30 days from the approval of the planning commission meeting minutes of this meeting?
Well, that would be advisable to make that clear in your motion. I think it could be either one. As you
Okay, just want to
stated.
clarify.
Yep, you should clarify that in your motion when the 30 days starts counting. Now, with respect to the June 1st date, of course, that's not a counting of days, that's a date certain. So that's not a problem.
Mr. Jacobs?
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question and make an offering? In talking to Mr. Nitz, if we could coincide that with the completion date of the berms, the 6-month time period, that would allow him to get rid of the product that's there and clear the site of it. If that's appropriate, that's not a problem. He feels that he could get that done within that same time period, so that both the berming and that would get completed simultaneously.
What time frame are you talking about?
That 6-month time period.
So March what, 15th, 18th?
No,
I'm not sure exactly when 6 months is from.
Is that 6 months from zoning appeals or 6 months from this meeting approval of the
This
site
meeting.
plan?
I would believe 6 months from this meeting from the planning commission's
That's
approval.
what I'm
That's what we
thinking, which
understood.
would be April.
Yeah. So by spring, basically.
April 15?
Whatever.
Well, we could give it
Yeah.
we could give it a specific date if that's the case.
That's what I think you should do. I mean,
Yeah, potentially. Yep.
Ms. Rector?
I'm just going to ask for clarification on those dates for the minutes so we make sure that we have everything clear of what you're actually
Yep.
giving him the 30 days, 60 days, or 6 months on. If we could just get
Or a
clarification.
specific date.
Okay.
Keep in mind, today is the 13th. I believe we will have a meeting next month if you want to, as Mr. Steiner stated from the meeting minutes, however you want to word it. But we would just like clear understanding for not only the applicant, but for the minutes.
I'm thinking for sake of clarity.
Okay, so there's a motion, it's been seconded. A friendly amendment's been requested with some different suggestions, including by the applicant. So I'm going to say I'll accept a friendly amendment making the berming and the removal of any non-saleable product on the property 6 months from if this is approved tonight. So October 13th would be 6 months from October 13, 2021. which would be right around April 12th, 2022. And that's my friendly amendment. And it'd be up to you to support that if you want to.
Yes, I support it.
Mr. Gaverick, do you want to call the roll?
Mr. Anger,
Yes.
Mr. Helm, Yes. Garvix, yes. Mr. Mahoney,
Yes.
Mr. Fritz,
Yes.
Mr. Steiner.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you all for your
6 to
patience
nothing.
and help in addressing this.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 8A, request for a recommendation for tentative preliminary plat approval for Village Meadows Plat 5 and 6 on parcel number 5802-014-067-04 located on Temperance Road east of Lewis Avenue. Ms. Rector. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was getting my things together.
I thought after that last one, you'd want 15-minute break. That was long.
This is actually two separate requests for the same project. I'm going to kind of combine them, but it will require two motions as there's two applications for it and two requirements for the approval. This is for Village Meadows Plats 5 and 6, tentative preliminary plat approval. Village Meadows Holdings, the applicant Bryce Bankowski. Parcel number 5802-014-06704, R3, single-family residential. On October 15th, 2019, the Township Board granted tentative preliminary plat approval for Village Meadows subdivision, Plat 5 and 6. Per Section 300.303C, tentative approval of the preliminary plat shall confer with the proprietor for a period of 1 year from the date of the tentative approval of lot sizes, lot orientation, and street layout. Such tentative approval may be extended if applied for by the proprietor and granted by the Township Board in writing. No extension submittal was requested, and due to the lapse in time frame, a reapproval of the tentative preliminary plat is required. And at no fault of the applicant, it was due to COVID and out of the office, so we're just looking for a reapproval. Nothing has changed on the plan. The remaining 15.372 acre site is being proposed for development. Plat 5 consists of 12 lots, Plat 6, 13, for a total of 25. R3, single-family residential parcels. There's a total of 121 lots within Village Meadows, and with the additional proposed 25, there will be a total of 146 lots where there are two means of ingress-egress off Temperance Road, Bush Drive and Village Meadows Drive. The proposed plats are an extension of the Village Meadows subdivision located on Temperance Road east of Lewis, which was approved on 8/19/2003. Monroe County Road Commission has approved the tentative preliminary plat with comments and conditions on 9/15/21, Monroe County Drain Commission on 9/7/2021, Mannequin Smith Group on 10/1/2021, and Bedford Township Fire Department on 9/16/2021. Eagle has noted on the plan via an email from Bridget S. Carver dated 7/24/19 a site visit was conducted, and there are no signs of regulated wetlands on the property, and they will be accepting Bankowski Builders 2002 wetland delineation. It is also noted that the new joint permit application was submitted on 4/25/19, and the site plan notes Eagle permit numbers WRP 632 V as in Victor, .1, Part 301, Inland Lakes and Streams, issued on March 27, 2020, for the detention pond, outfall, and the sanitary sewer work within the private unnamed tributary to Flat Creek Drain. The following should be considered if tentative preliminary plat is approved and recommended. Any and all issues outlined in the Monroe County Road Commission, Monroe County Drain Commission, Mannequin Smith Group, and the Bedford Township Fire Department letters shall be addressed, and a permit shall be obtained from Eagle prior to final preliminary plat approval. Since there had been no changes, the Planning Department had spoken to Mr. Bankowski and requested to go ahead and submit tentative preliminary plat and final preliminary plat to move them forward. It is required by the state for the plat process to make sure they're in sequential order, and due to the lapse in time frame. So you will see the final preliminary plat is pretty much the same information regarding the site, except you'll see in the summary, should final preliminary plat approval be recommended, any and all issues outlined in those comment review letters that are listed. And I know Mr. Bankowski is working with those agencies for final plat approval as well. So it will go back. These will both be presented to the Township Board on their November meeting, and then it will go back to the Township Board for final plat approval as well, and to the state. And
Would you like to say anything? Can you come up? Thank you. Anybody have any questions about this?
I think
Bankowski, Village Meadow Holdings.
I think this is just a courtesy extension because of COVID, it's just kind of, we already agreed upon it, just we need to.
And nothing's changed in
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
request from before.
Yeah.
We're one board member short. Do you want us to proceed tonight?
Yes, please.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Guevara, call the roll.
I'll make a motion.
We got a motion for
Gosh, that's right.
We got to get you in order tonight, Pat.
Remember, we need
mulch
two
tank
separate
has to be-
motions, one for tentative preliminary plat, and then another motion for final preliminary plat.
Okay. I make a motion that we, for recommendation for tentative preliminary plat approval for Village Meadows Plat 5 and 6 on parcel number 5802014067004, located on Temperance Road east of Lewis Avenue, with the following recommendations, any and all issues outlined in the Monroe County Road Commission, Monroe County Drain Commission, and the Manikin Smith Group, and the Bedford Township Fire Department letters shall be addressed, and a permit shall be obtained from Eagle prior to final preliminary plat approval. Should I do the separate second one now, or should I just do them separately?
Do them totally separate with the
Okay.
motion.
Second.
All right, Mr. Guevara, call the roll.
Mr. Helm,
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney,
Aye.
Mr. Steiner.
Aye.
Mr. Garvick, aye. Mr. Fritz,
Yes.
Mr. Anger.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 6-0.
And I will also make the next motion too. Request for a recommendation for final preliminary plat approval for Village Meadows on plat 5 and 6 on parcel number 5802014067004, located on Temperance Road east of Lewis Avenue, following the same conditions as on the other one. Or do I need to read them again? I do? Okay. Any and all issues outlined in the Monroe County Road Commission, Monroe County Drain Commission, the Manikin Smith Group, and the Bedford Township Fire Department. Letters shall be addressed, and a permit shall be obtained from Eagle prior to final preliminary plat approval.
I'll second.
Mr. Helm seconds. Mr. Guevara, call the roll.
Mr. Fritz,
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney,
Aye.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Garvick's aye. Helm, Mr. Helm,
Aye.
Mr. Anger.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Item 8C. We'll open the public hearing regarding the request from Lock It Up Self Storage, previously Erie Shore Self Storage, to revoke the planned unit development plan and agreement, and request a rezoning of parcel number 58-02-026-070-00 from PUD planned unit development to I-1 planned industrial park, located on the northwest corner of Stearns and Crab Roads, otherwise known as 100 Stearns Road, Temperance, Michigan, 48182.
Make a motion to open the public hearing on parcel number 5802-026-070-00, known as 100 West Stearns Road, Temperance, Michigan, 48182.
Support.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll leave the public hearing open. And I understand you wish to defer.
Yes, sir.
Sorry to make you wait. Go ahead.
No problem. My name's Jerry Parker. I'm the attorney for the applicant. And we got the assessment or recommendation or by your expert, and we just got that Friday, and I would like to have my experts here to respond to some of the points. We think we have some legitimate responses, and we just didn't have the time to get them all together, and that's the purpose of the deferral.
Put the mic up again here.
I'm sorry. My name's Jerry Parker. I'm the attorney for Lock It Up at 1 Seagate, Toledo, Ohio. The reason we are asking for the deferral is that we got the assessment or recommendation, I think last Thursday, and quite frankly, haven't had enough time to get our engineer and another expert we'd like to testify so that we can address and respond to the comments that were made in that report, to have a thorough explanation of why we feel the request is justified. Thank you.
Okay, will you be ready on November 10th?
Yes, we will.
Our next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Camperth?
I was going to say that those are all good reasons why he wants to defer, but the true reason is that the Planning Commission is one member short, and it would require a vote of 4 and an affirmative. And since they're one member short, our bylaws provide the option to the applicant to defer for that reason.
Okay.
I changed my reasoning.
The reasons are all good.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Mr. Rector.
I just wanted to make sure that the applicant is aware, going to the November 10th meeting, the requested item will not then be presented to the Township Board until their December meeting. And also, any information that they can provide ahead of time that I can provide to the Planning Commission members from their review would be greatly appreciated, to give you ample time and our planner also time to attend the meeting to discuss those items that are they're requesting.
Okay, Mr. Camperth.
Before Mr. Parker leaves, the public hearing has been opened because it was published for this date, and since he is deferring, I think you should hear any public comment that might arise so Mr. Parker can hear it. Also, that the public hearing not be closed but continued to the date certain when the applicants will be back, and we can hear any further public comments at that time when the board deliberates.
Which, that'll be November 10th?
Correct.
Okay, so the open hearing's open until then.
All right.
Then we'll close it at that time.
So do we have a comment? Then I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing due to the applicant's deferral until the November 10, 2021 Planning Commission meeting.
Support.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Jody, you probably would like to recommend everyone keep this packet
Yes,
instead of
if
having
you-
to reprint it?
If you do have a packet and you want to give it back to me to have for the next meeting, I will gladly take it. Otherwise, please keep it for the next meeting.
Okay, on to item 8D, a request for final site plan approval for Sunrise Windows LLC, building addition and parking lot expansion located on parcel number 5802035-010-31, otherwise known as 200 Enterprise Avenue, and parcel number 5802-035-069-05, which is be the parking lot located on the south side of Enterprise Drive. Ms. Rector.
Again, the applicant is Sunrise Windows, 200 Enterprise Drive, Temperance. Colony & Colony is the engineer, and Romanco Builders is the developer. And Mr. Romanco is here tonight. On parcel numbers 5802-035-01031, that is the subject site of the structures, and the additional parking on 5802-035-06905, I-1 Planned Industrial Park. The owner is proposing a 127,485 square foot addition to be attached to the east side of the existing 1,640,240 square foot building on approximately 20 acres. There are 4 new dumpster pads and a cover shown on the north side of the new structure. However, there is no submitted enclosure rendering. That should be verified. No lighting details have been submitted for either the building or the parking lot parcel. This should be verified, and details should be provided. The applicant has submitted a letter requesting the landscaping to be amended or changed on it, and I did supply that to you this evening. And also, the landscaping plan has been provided, and we will get clarification from Mr. Romanco discussing that further. There are 5 proposed new truck docks and new parking areas providing for 11 trailer parking spaces. Per 400-1904, existing parking area provides 96 spaces, and the proposed east lot will provide 158 employee parking spaces, 9 new striped ADA compliance spaces, and the south lot will provide 234 employee spaces for a total of 497 spaces, where 405 spaces are required. There is a proposed 440-foot walkway to the west of the south parking lot to provide a safe access for employees to the building. The applicant has been advised there, should the desire in the future be to add any covering to the walkway, a variance would be required, as at this time there is no required setback, or no provided setback for a structure. Once they put a roof over the walkway, it will become considered a structure, and there is no setback from the parcel to the west. The south parking lot is under the applicant's ownership, and the combination restriction agreement was approved by the Township Board on October 5th, 2021, to restrict separation of parcels 5802-035-1031 and 5802-035-06905, as the south parcel provides the additional required parking spaces. And I did include a copy of that for your records. As previously approved on August 8, 2018, maintenance of the emergency access lane and the fire lane to the west of the structure will be maintained by Sunrise Windows to include snow removal and the keeping of the area clear of any vehicles, equipment, etc., as stated in the Bedford Township Fire Department letter dated August 1, 2018. Approval letters were received from the Bedford Township Fire Department on 9/20/21 with comments and conditions. Monroe County Drain Commission 9/21/21 with comments and conditions. The Mannequin Smith Group on 10/5/2021 with multiple comments and conditions, and the Monroe County Road Commission on 9/30/2021. That letter was sent and not approved with comments and conditions. However, an email was provided on 10/4 from Brian Wilhelm stating that the Road Commission had no objection to the Planning Commission granting approval of the site with comments and condition. Monroe County Drain Commission, in regards to soil erosion, supplied the 2 permits for both of those parcels. Should site plan approval be granted, a motion should include the approval is contingent upon properly addressing multiple comments and conditions in all the letters of conditional approval from the Bedford Township Fire Department, Mannequin Smith Group, Monroe County Drain Commission, and Monroe County Road Commission, resubmitting revised set of drawings to all agencies for review and approval prior to any construction, and that continued maintenance by Sunrise Windows be required of the emergency access lane and the fire lane to the west of the structure, to include snow removal and the keeping of the area clear of any vehicles, equipment, etc., as stated in the Fire Department letter dated August 1st, 2018. I will say they did submit a lighting plan. I did have an opportunity to review it. I advised Mr. Romanko that the height of the poles were not in compliance with our ordinance. They were 20 feet or 38 feet in height, where our ordinance allows 20 feet in height. He has submitted new plans tonight. I have not had an opportunity to review them, so that will be a question to have verification. The letter requesting waiver on the landscaping does require those excuse me, comments that were, they have to have, excuse me.
God bless you.
Comments of why they're requesting. I have had an opportunity to review them. I'm not 100% sure that the requirements from the side of the loading of the forks of the, that the dumpsters are loaded from the side with the forklifts. I'm not sure if that justifies a reason by our ordinance to allow them, but Mr. Romanko might be able to answer further questions of those comments of the landscaping requirements.
Okay, is that it? Mr. Romanko, can you say your name, address, and...
Hi, I'm Kevin Romanko, Romanko Building Company, general contractor for Sunrise Windows.
Okay. Is there anything you want to add to what Ms. Rector said?
No, but she's got a lot of information there, a lot to go through. This project has been evolving for quite some time. We've been working on this for approximately 6 months, trying to get it to the point where we can start construction. And the different review agencies have given me conditional approval to go ahead and be here. And there's what I'm understanding, what they're saying is, we've got a few things that we got to work out, but you're basically approved. So you can go ahead and get started with the major things. Excuse me. My engineer, Jim Colony, has been working on the latest revisions, which was from Mannequin Smith. And they deal with some things like cutting the curb for a crosswalk, so the sidewalk comes down to the road and then back up. A lot of minor things like that. Some of the comments they made have already been addressed through the road commission and things like that, but we're doing a final cleanup on the drawing, and I think that we're down to just revising some grades on the south parking lot. Jody made a comment about the lighting. I thought that the ordinance said it could be 30 foot. So we revised our height of our lights. In the parking lot where there's like 200 cars, there's 3 pole lights with 2 heads on it, and we've got a 27-foot pole that's up on a 3-foot high concrete to get some of the like the night shifts so that they can see to get from their cars up to the building. And the plan that I just gave to Jody, which she hasn't reviewed yet, is showing those lights at 30 foot.
And that is correct. I checked it in the ordinance. Parking lots with more than 150 spaces are permitted to have 30-foot poles, and they were requesting 35 with 38 overall height. So if you make that contingent on review, confirming that those are 30 feet in height with the lighting, that I will confirm that before he can move forward with the lighting.
Is that 27 feet with a 3-foot base?
Yeah, which gives us a mounting height of 30 feet.
Okay.
Are those going to be LED?
I'm not an electrician.
Got to be LED or we can't approve. I'm kidding, but hopefully it makes sense. I'm sure they're probably going to go LED these days. It makes sense.
I have no idea. I didn't bring the cut sheets with me, but I assume that everything that we do now is LED.
Figured after the long one, we'd lighten it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And solar too, right?
Yeah. Well,
Let's not go there tonight.
yeah. Not go there yet.
We'll go back to the issue on the dumpsters. These are 20-yard dumpsters. They're pretty large, and it's for scrap vinyl, broken glass. They manufacture windows. The purpose of this building is they're adding 3 glass lines so that now they can, instead of buying their glass elsewhere, they're going to process their glass cutting and everything on site, which is going to create more jobs, and I don't know if anybody wants to go to work at the way these are. But they have small bins that these go into, and they pick them up with forklifts and run them out, and they side load them. They come up with the forklift on the side of it, and the small bin dumps it over into the sides as they go. So the way that the dumpsters are arranged is so that, well, that's my daughter.
Can you speak in the microphone?
What we did was we put a roof cover over top of these so that we could keep snow and water out of them, because some of this material is recyclable. It's large enough to hold, it shows spaces for 4, but there's actually only 2 underneath because you have to have room for, I silenced it, I really did. I'm not very good techie, but you put one dumpster in and you can't have another dumpster beside it because you have to load it from both sides. So when that dumpster pulls out, another one is put in the space adjacent to it, so they're always blank space, dumpster, blank space, dumpster. It's just so they can get the forklifts around to dump them. So we've got 2 of these covers, and they've got locations for 4, but typically only have 2 dumpsters underneath it. One is on the new addition, and one is back on the, it's actually, I think it's about halfway through the existing building. And there's another glass line that's going in that part of the building as well. And so that's why, and they're on the north side of the building. When you walk out of the back of the building, you're looking at semi-trailer parking. That's all over there. So it's not like a dumpster at Wendy's where you put gates on it and close it in. It's more of a part of the industrial process.
Will Enterprise be extended at all, or will it still end where it ends?
Pardon?
Enterprise, the street. It's just kind of odd how the road ends and the building keeps going.
Yeah. That was intentional.
Was it?
Yeah.
Why? Did you build the original building?
Yes, I did.
And that was in 98?
I think it was for Gary Delman.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's been there for over 25 years now.
Well, the biggest thing is, we got to applaud Sunrise and you for helping them grow, staying in Bedford. That's a big plus.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Can't say enough about that. I mean, they've been there a number of years, successful, and they keep going. So thank you and thank them
I will.
for
I'll pass
staying
it
here
on.
in Bedford and continuing to develop like this. I guess, everything I'm hearing tonight, it sounds good to me. I don't have any problems or issues directly. I guess, we can make motions contingent upon certain things, but not knowing what those contingencies are. We could say, based on Manick and Smith, based on Drain Commission, based on this, and that, but maybe there's something in one of those recommendations that this board may not agree with. I doubt it, but it could happen.
Most of the stuff is
And you said it's minor, most of the stuff, which it sounds like.
yeah, typical construction stuff. I think one of the comments was we didn't really state what kind of tree we were going to plant out front. I suggested evergreen, but nobody's ever really decided what kind of tree we're going to put out front.
Right.
So they want that to be addressed. And of course, Bedford Township has a list of preferred trees, and I think the owner's just going to pick one from one of those that's on the list.
Right, makes sense.
And we had a comment, the comment says we needed to pick a tree. I think at some point, it's going to be probably next year before we get around to doing that. And at some point, I think the owner just will pick one from what the approved list is.
Well, if it was a cut Christmas tree, it's in the Pacific waiting.
The Monroe
Yeah, I guess we're not going to get Christmas trees this year from what I hear.
Monroe County Road Commission denied approval in a letter dated 9/30, but subsequently approved it on October 4 in an email. Can you explain that, what happened?
Yeah. Well, Brian, they only work like 4 days a week up there, and it was getting down towards the end, and they think they quit on a Thursday and wouldn't be back till Monday to have time to address everything. So a lot of it was handled by email. And the earlier letter did not address, we had handicap parking in the right-of-way. That would have been right on the south edge of the office. And there's an easement and right-of-way that went through there. And his second letter come around that we couldn't put any handicap parking in the right-of-way. We thought it was a good spot, 'cause it's the end of the road, nobody goes down there.
Mm-hmm.
And technically, there is an easement that runs all the way through, so we can't put the handicap parking in the easement. We would have to get the easement vacated and things like that, which is not going to happen. So what we did is we found an entrance where the employees come in the back of the building, and we put off our handicap parking back there.
Regarding the parking lot, will there be parking bumps along that sidewalk?
The sidewalk, one of the revisions that we're making is we changed the width of the sidewalk to 5 feet. We put a 1'6" gap between the sidewalk and the edge of pavement so that we wouldn't have to put any bumpers in. And I brought this is stuff that was in Manick and Smith's letter that we're addressing now. And once we get those things addressed, I think it was one of the, Mark Matthew give us an alternate, either do this or either do that. And so we made a choice to do it without the bumpers because of snow removal and things like that.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? Questions, comments?
Just to top off what I said earlier, I mean, honestly, when it comes to the Drain Commission, Road Commission, we don't have any jurisdiction, so whatever they say, it's going to stick anyway. The only thing we have is our engineers, again, everything that our engineers state, I think they're going to address those. I guess it's just whatever open items there are, such as the light poles, et cetera, and then moving the dumpsters, those couple items. I think if we go with the approval, which I think we probably will, those definitely need to be addressed. Did I miss anything, Joey, besides the dumpster locations, the light poles, that has to be addressed tonight?
And I think he has addressed them, but just keep in mind that conditioned upon the approval, that we want to
Of the
make sure
agency.
that all those comments are addressed in revised plans, because the road commission does even ask for that in their approval email. So we want to make sure that's part of the motion as well, before they actually ask for revised drawings to approve them prior to permitting the project.
We are one board member short. Would you like to continue with the vote?
Of course, let's keep moving forward.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other comments, questions? Should we move on with the vote?
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
I'll go ahead and go forward with it then. I'll make the motion to approve the site plan as proposed by Romanco Building Company on behalf of Sunrise Windows LLC on property at 58-02-035-010-31 and property 58-02-035-069-05, otherwise known as 200 Enterprise Drive in Temperance, Michigan. Those two properties were recently approved by the Bedford Township Board for combination and restrictions that these properties should stay together and cannot be divided or sold other than as one property. The site plan approval is granted with a motion stating that it's contingent upon properly addressing multiple comments and condition in all letters of conditional approval from the Bedford Township Fire Department, the Manic Smith Group, Monroe County Drain Commission, and Monroe County Road Commission, and resubmitting revised sets of drawings to all agencies for review and approval prior to any construction, that continued maintenance by Sunrise Windows be required of the emergency access lane and the fire lane to the west of the structure, and to include snow removal, and keeping the area clear of any vehicles, equipment, etc., as stated in the Bedford Township Fire Department letter dated August 1, 2018. Also addressing the approval of the requested location of the dumpsters to be moved to the north side of the building as presented, which is one section in front of the existing building, the other dumpster section to be in front of the new structure, I should say the north side as well. Also, it's been addressed that the lighting will meet the township standards of 30-foot tall with a proposed 27-foot pole on 3-foot height concrete. And I believe that's my motion.
Before you go to second that or anything, and I don't know if you can make an adjustment, we're really pushed on schedule, and we've got, some details that we're going to work out. We're Drainage Commission, we've got our soil erosion permits. As far as they're concerned, we can start moving dirt. I've got a bunch of semi-trailers that are on the property that are in the way of where the building's going. Because of shortages and allocations, we've been buying materials ahead of time and we're storing them on site already. I would really like, once we get the grades adjusted, I would like to start dirt work on the south parking lot down as far as the catch basins. I've got permission from Doug Link to go ahead and do that much of it. That would give me a stone staging area for construction materials. would like to get started on that much of it, knowing that we still have a few details to work out, like our crosswalks, curb cuts, things like that.
Can you wrap that up in 2 sentences?
Marty, can we do that?
I want to hear his 2 sentences first, and maybe it'll make his decision earlier or easier.
Well, the way that it's worded is I can't do anything until I got every little I dotted and T crossed. We're in that process. I've been working in Bedford Township for 35 years. I've done quite a few projects here: Belker, Automatic Handling, Toledo Steel, Michigan Tube Swagers, MTS, Marmon Keystone. We've built a lot of nice buildings. What I'm asking is permission to go ahead and put in a construction staging area to utilize the proposed parking lot as with a stone base in it, to utilize as a construction staging area.
Using only that sliver of parking lot area.
It's on the south side. It's a 3-acre piece. About 2/3 of the way down is where the catch basins go in. Well, that northern 2/3, we would like to be able to remove the dirt, stone it, and use that for a construction staging area.
And you wouldn't encroach upon the areas to the east or west of it?
No. That's part of what adjusting the grades was. In Manick and Smith's letter, and it was a good observation on his part, he noticed that the parking lot was 1.5 feet higher than what the adjacent property was. And there's no transition there. So we have to lower, either we have to come with an easement and a grading easement onto the neighbor's property to slope some dirt down to match his grade, or either bring our parking lot down. And so I took a look at the grades. It's very easy for us to lower the grade down to match the existing, so that the grading and the drainage all blends in. The parking lot is from north to south, has a lower in the center so that all the water runs to the catch basin and not onto the property. We adjusted the sidewalk that goes along there, which will follow grade. And so those are some engineering things that we got to do, but the basic part of it, of getting the topsoil out of the way and putting a stone base in, that part's not going to change. It's how the bottom of it's not going to change. The top of it's what we're working on.
Mr. Fritz?
Yes, to Marty or Jody, would that be a township decision, not the planning? And could that be, if it was with us, could that be a temporary work area?
Well, this is one site plan, one all-encompassing site plan. I'm going to have to kind of think through this as I speak, because I don't know the exact answer.
I think we're within days of having our paperwork done to be able to submit it again. And once the drainage, Monroe County Drain Commission, they've signed off on it. The Road Commission has basically signed off on it. We still got to work with the Manick and Smith group. I forget, fire department's all done. But once we get done with the Manick and Smith, we've already addressed the Road Commission. Once we get done with the Manick and Smith, then all those site plans go out to everybody again. It's basically the finished record copy that everybody keeps. And we're probably within days of having that completed and being able to distribute it. And I probably realistically won't get started on anything till next week anyway, as far as physical dirt work. But I don't want to be held up. If we get some good weather, it could move ahead.
Mr. Camprith?
Well, I would have to say, before he has all his conditions satisfied and the final go-ahead from the planning department and the building department, that any improvements that they make to this south lot would be at risk of the site plan not being approved. I don't know how that could possibly happen, but that's the reality. Probably will never be disproved. But I do know that, or I believe that they should not do this unless every condition concerning that south parking lot, where they plan on making some improvements, has been satisfied by Manick & Smith and the Monroe County Drain Commission. The Monroe County Drain Commission sent a letter on September 28th indicating that they needed to obtain a permit from Eagle for a detention pond and outfall into Indian Creek Drain, which is part of or adjacent to that parcel. So there are some items that need to be addressed with respect to that parcel, and I would not want to see any changes to that parcel unless the township engineer and the Monroe County Drain Commission and any other agency that has some jurisdiction over that parcel has approved changes to be made in that parcel. Now, if other conditions need to be satisfied for the other aspect of the site plan that takes longer, I guess I'm okay with that as long as they understand the risk of starting on part of it without getting the whole site plan approved. That's their risk.
But Marty, do we, as the planning commission, have the authority to give him the okay, or is that the township?
I do not feel comfortable that you can give him the okay without approving the site plan.
Well, like a lot of these things, we recommend to the board, to the township board.
The planning commission does not recommend, they approve site plans.
Okay.
So site plan rests with this body.
Okay.
You can give me a conditional approval.
Go ahead, Mr. Director.
I think they were prepared to give a conditional approval.
Well, I'm wanting to add a condition.
And I agree with Marty that these comments from the Drain Commission refer to that parcel to the south. The construction drawings were just submitted to the building department and have not been reviewed and approved. So we would definitely, as a township, even working on that parcel, we would want something from Eagle and the Drain Commission suggesting that they have no objection to them working on that site without approvals. Approved site plan with it. Only because this does state part of the Indian Creek, which is on that parcel, which is a main drain in our township.
I can appreciate the extenuating circumstances with the lead times in the industry are.
Yeah, well, yeah, winter coming, that's pushing us now, too. But I did have a conversation with Mr. Thompson and Doug Link at the Drainage Commission, and it was both of their opinion that we could do this while we were waiting for the Eagle permit, because the Eagle permit is what gives us permission to outfall into Indian Creek. And since we're not installing the catch basins or any of the drainage system, we're not outfalling into Indian Creek yet.
It's just a staging area that's going to be blacktop at a later date.
Right. Construction staging area. And that's the way Doug Link worded it as well.
Through the winter? Is that when you'll be building?
God, yes.
So we'll be getting snow and not rain.
Yeah, do you think that, you said that, those agencies have basically told you, that they could probably work with that contingent? Would they be, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy, would they be able to even put that in an email stating, we agree to, if you proceed this contingent upon these documents finalized and being submitted to them for the final approval, that they don't have a problem with you starting that?
I already have an email from Doug Link stating that we could do that.
And what was the other one you said you had another agency you had discussed?
That's involved?
Yeah.
The only agencies that are involved on that piece of property, of course, the Road Commission, because we've got
Right.
The Drainage Commission, and Eagle.
Okay. So you got that, and then, of course, you'd have to address anything that comes up out of Manick and Smith Group.
And then, of course, there's, it's still part of the Monroe County Drainage Commission is our soil erosion permit.
Mm-hmm.
And Jenna Morris issued us the permits for both parcels.
Since I started the motion, I'm willing to make some suggested changes here, but I want to make sure that I get it right. So between the commission, Ms. Rector, Mr. Camperth, so to add to my motion that I already proposed, to send the letter that you received from Mr. Link, a copy of that to the Bedford Township Planning Department. And Jody, do you want that sent to Building 2 or just to you and you transfer it?
I would prefer myself and Dennis Kohler to
Okay,
be
so
included in the email.
Send that to Mr. Kohler and Ms. Rector. That you continue to work with the Manic Smith Group and address all items that they're going to present back to you that need to get approved for your final site plan. And again, as was stated by Mr. Camperth, that proceeding to do any of this work prior to the final on your site plan approval, it's at risk on your part that if for some reason something comes forward after the fact and you don't meet that compliance, that goes back on you and Sunrise. Jody, Marty, board members?
I like what you're amending here. I'd like to see them get going on this project. I know they want to do it, and extenuating circumstances. Mr. Banco's been doing this for a long time in our township. That's my thoughts on it. I trust them.
Go ahead. And I agree with what that says. I agree that he would be able to prep it and start there and use that for a lay-down area.
Okay.
I had another question. No, I didn't hear anything in there, but I also support the exemption on the dumpsters, and I didn't hear that in your.
That was in there.
Oh, did you? Okay, I didn't.
Because I mentioned the 2 locations as well.
Okay.
So
Good.
we still need a second. And again, you can still make friendly amendments if necessary.
Anyone?
And I think we've got some from over here on this side.
Oh.
I would feel more comfortable if you would also ask Manick and Smith, who looks over all the reviewing agencies, for some correspondence from Mark Matthey or Barry Bushman saying that they've also looked at this particular south parcel and that they're comfortable with what approvals from the Drain Commission or DEQ maybe are lacking from the Eagle, that they're comfortable that you can also start on that parcel. I'd like that blessing from Manick and Smith in writing also for Jody to receive.
So I would like to add that as a friendly amendment into the motion, that they receive communication from Manick Smith Group, also sent to Ms. Rector and Mr. Kohler. And I think that's all we need. And
I just had one other thing. The location of the dumpsters and the screening for the dumpsters is what they are seeking from the ordinance, to not have to screen them also. That was
okay. Yeah, we talked about the location. We didn't talk about screening.
Screening, right. He explained that they load from the side, so
Right.
he didn't want to put plantings or an enclosure.
Right. And they do have, they are going to have a roof over them. So I will.
Yes, they have a roof, but no sides.
Right. So I will add that to my motion to approve that without the extra screening or landscape around them, due to the fact of these dumpsters must be loaded from the sides of the bins.
Anyone else have comments on the text or the friendly amendments? Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Guevara, call the roll.
Mr. Helm?
Yes.
Mr. Anger?
Yes.
Garvich, yes. Mr. Mahoney?
Aye.
Mr. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Ron, get
Okay, let's move on to public comment. Nobody from the public is here. Information, Ms. Rector?
I'm sorry. Yes. Again, November 10th, we will be having a meeting with the deferment for the Lock It Up self-storage. Also, if you can check your agendas, I would like to move the meetings. Then we will have the November 10th meeting. The originally scheduled meeting was November 24th, which is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We tried to look at those to benefit the members and the public. If anybody has any family items or things for the holiday, move them to the week before. So possibly changing that November 24th meeting to Wednesday, November 17th. And the same as for Christmas, we would have hold the December 8th meeting should we have items, and move the 22nd meeting to the 15th of December. I will send an email out with those dates on there for you to please confirm if you're able to change those, because I would have to get those published and
So do you mean if we need those meetings?
if we need those meetings. I would just like to move them to the Wednesday, just the second one to the Wednesday before. I'll try to keep them all on the one, but due to the holidays, we usually try to schedule those and try to get to one meeting, but I'm going to offer two because of the time frame in between. So if we have items prepared for those meetings, we will have them. So if you could please confirm that on your agenda that you'd be available, as we are still one member short.
I'll tell you yes for me unless I get called out of town, so I'm good.
That's good with me.
What is that, the 10th, the 17th, and then the 15th of December?
Yes.
Thank you. Should be good.
You guys good?
I'm good for everything but December 15th. I'll be out of town that week.
I got to look at that.
And I will send a follow-up email just with those dates, and if you could please confirm that, that'd be great. That's all I have.
Any update on CIP?
The Finance Department is working on the asset a list, and as soon as we get that firmly downsized to what actually we need to look at for the program, we'll definitely start meeting. It is going to be the building department, planning department, finance department, and the clerk. And if any member would like to be involved, I know Pat, you had mentioned, we'll definitely send emails, and if anybody else would like information, but we figured that was the first step to get it at least the asset list organized. So as soon as we have that, we'll get it back to you for review.
Awesome. Thank
Okay?
you.
You're welcome.
Commissioning comments. Mr. Helm?
I think I'm good. I'm glad we got Sunrise. They need to move forward, especially being in the business.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Anger?
Nothing for me.
Mr. Crivera? I'm good. Good.
I'm good.
And Katrina? Mr. Camprith? Ms. Rector? Okay, motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Support?
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Meeting is adjourned.